Good morning, everybody. This is Deborah with Hello My Garden. And so it's Father's Day, so happy Father's Day to all of you fathers out there. So our last video we talked about our snake problem, and that was very disconcerting. The snakes finally, after 3 days, I believe it was, the snakes finally left, and I can't remember if I told you there was actually 2 snakes in there or not. In any case, there were 2 snakes in there. So anyway, so we had a lot of rain the last week. Last week we had about 6 inches in a span of about 3 days. Our slope in the front, our front yard is sloped, so the bottom of that slope is sort of, it's very squishy. But back here in this, the part that, our dry area over here, this where the soil is just so poor, these plants are very happy with it. So this comfrey, you can tell, is really happy with the rain. Our milkweed, the flowers are starting to end, so this isn't the best view of it. I don't see any caterpillars. I did see a monarch butterfly on it at one point, but I'm not seeing any caterpillars this year. I'm definitely going to plant some more of that. So our Rose of Sharon is in bloom, and that was here. It was actually, this part of our yard was all mowed when we bought this house, and so we just stopped mowing and it showed up. So I'm pretty sure it was here and just had been mowed constantly, but now it's here and it's in bloom, and we're glad that it's here. It's beautiful. So fennel. What I did want to talk about a little bit today is the fact that, you know, we had this building put up, this workshop for my husband. He'd been wanting that or needing that for years now. But the interesting thing about it is, when we had this yard as a sort of open canvas, for me it was very, very hard to imagine in terms of permaculture how the layout was going to be. I just can't see it. You know, a lot of people can see something and put it to fruition. I couldn't see it at all. But now that we have this building here, it's kind of created kind of compartments or rooms, or however you want to state, you know, areas now, that it's so much easier to envision how we're going to lay things out. You know, still I'm not there yet. I do little by little, but this is one of our little sections here. This actually is 2 areas that we had dumped compost in, and we never actually ended up using all the compost, so they ended up kind of being little mountains or little hills, and we left them that way. And it actually, I'm liking the way it's, well, so I've grown squash on it in the past, and we do have some squashes that have volunteered, which I didn't really want to deal with this year. I wanted to give them a couple years away, so, you know, the plants would not, I mean, the pests would not expect to have a squash to, you know, to live on or feed on this year, and that kind of helps diminish your pest population. But anyway, they volunteered and I left a few of them, if you could see. But in any case, so these little 2 hills are really, we're putting a lot of pollinator plants here, and as you can see, we've got a bunch of celosia and some tomatoes that have, the tomatoes volunteered, and so has the hyssop. These other hyssops I planted there, I pulled them out of the bed, but there's the celosia I moved here because we were getting a ton of it in the beds. But celosia is actually, from what I understand, edible as well, and it's in the amaranth family, but the flowers are beautiful and the pollinators love it. So I've got catnip here too, and this is one of those volunteer squashes, and I've got some oregano. It's a golden oregano. What I wanted to use that oregano for is the ground cover, and I'm really just kind of testing how it does with the Bermuda grass, the horrible Bermuda grass. Because what I really need is something that'll keep the Bermuda grass away. Oops, there's some squash bug eggs. I'll get rid of them later. Here's some motherwort, and I put my lavender there. I'm hoping, ooh, that's sharp. That motherwort is sharp. The seeds, once the seeds happen, they're pretty sharp. But the pollinators love the motherwort. Anyway, I put some lavender there, and hopefully oh, I think my husband's mowing now. I'm not sure if you're going to be able to hear me. Anyway, so here's our grapevine. It's doing well, knock on wood. We have started to have a big problem with with a very large bunny. And he's eating some of our medicinal herbs. Strangely enough, I never thought that they would like that, but I'm thinking of trying to figure out an area that I can grow just for the bunny, because he's humongous. I'm starting to call him, I don't know if any of you are familiar with Monty Python, but the Vorpal bunny, he's just so big, I call him the Vorpal bunny. He's huge. There's also some cute little babies, but there's one very large bunny. And he is a very hungry bunny, apparently. So we put up some deer fencing around some of the plants he was eating, that plastic stuff. And he actually chewed 4 very large escape routes and entry and escape routes into that, and continued to demolish the plant. So we're trying to find a solution to that right now. Anyway, so what I was saying is, with that, what I was saying previously before I got off on that tangent, is that with that workshop, it kind of helps us envision more areas that we can plant. And so I think that it's going to start to show its maybe final, I don't think anything's ever final, but layout as we move forward now, with the plants getting bigger, and then this sort of the definition by that workshop kind of helped us with the layout here. Another thing I wanted to mention about permaculture is that, you see these people doing this kind of permaculture thing where they come into a spot and they clear everything out and they do one big planting. And I just don't know how that would work, because in my opinion is, if you're planting trees, your shade and your microclimates change. So how can you come in the beginning and just lay everything out and then expect that to work? Because some of those plants that'll do good in the shade, once the trees are bigger, will not survive with the hot sun that we have here in the south. I have a number of plants that I just keep in pots because I can't get a good spot for them, because we have this middle of the end of summer, just real heat here in the south, and we have just full sun here. So that's my opinion, is that the way to do work, of course this is my opinion, is that it's more beneficial, especially for those that don't like to dig it. If you don't mind digging out plants and redoing it every other year or whatever, that's perfectly fine. But for me, I'd rather go very slow and observe how your patterns are going to ultimately end up. So what plant you're going to put, you may not start one particular plant for a few years until your tree is at a level that you're providing the sort of partial shade that it requires. But in any case, that's my opinion. Let me know your opinion. And I hope you all have a great Father's Day.